Well, I'm still doing my chores. It is 8:32 p.m. and it is Sunday, December the 14th. You know what that means? In 10 days, it's going to be Christmas Eve. Isn't that something, eh? Imagine in 10 days, it's going to be Christmas Eve. Wowzers. Time flies, as they say, eh? Time flies when you're having fun. Anyway, Rocky and I had our supper. It was pretty good. I got my stove working again. I was right. The hose was frozen up. So I brought it inside to warm up, you know. You know how it goes. Sometimes your hose gets a little cold and it doesn't function as it should. And so you got to get it warmed up. And then it'll be fine, you know. Then you can get things all hot and spicy. Yeah. Once your hose is functioning again, you can heat things up real good. Anyway, I'm in the process now of boiling the water for the hot water bags to go into bed. I didn't like not having them last night, I'll tell you. I didn't enjoy not having them. So, there you have it. I got a new hose ordered to replace the old one because the old one is cracked and stuff. And so, yeah, I've got a new one ordered to replace it. I'm noticing something that's happening here in Canada, where I live. I live in Ontario, Canada. I'm about 50 miles west of the city of Ottawa, which of course is the capital city of Canada. I've made a few videos in Ottawa. I've gone to Ottawa a few times and made some videos along Bank Street and along Wellington Street, which is where the Parliament buildings are. If you're curious about what it looks like up through there, there are videos on my channel that I made in the well, I made one last year in the fall, and I made another one this year in the fall, and I think I made one this year in the summertime too, if I remember correctly. Anyway, what I have noticed though is increasingly in this country there's a lot of hostility directed. Hot water in there. There's a lot of hostility being directed at Christians in particular. A lot of people hating on the Christians, and laws being passed. They're being passed to persecute Christians. Really, there's also been a rise in the Muslim religion here in Canada. It coincides with that. And again, our government is supporting all of this stuff. They're trying to do away with the Christian roots of Canada. Canada was founded as a country by Christians, but that doesn't matter because Christians are bad, apparently. Christianity must be stamped out wherever it rears its ugly head, you know. Apparently. And then, of course, the narrative around Christianity is the Christians are evil, violent, homophobic, racist, and just generally mean-spirited assholes, and that our holy book is hate literature. The funny thing is, the Quran actually says similar things to the Bible, and in fact even goes further than the Bible does in certain areas. And we're not hearing anything about that or against that. It's just that the Bible is no good, you know. Anyway, I can tell you that I know a little bit about Christianity, and you know, the Bible does not tell us to hate people. Let's be clear about that. The Bible doesn't do that. It doesn't tell us to hate. The God of the Bible is not a hateful God. The God of the Bible can be vengeful, but only when it's a just situation where vengeance is called for. And I mean, look, that's how life is. We're in a fallen world. Sometimes vengeance is called for. People who criticize the God of the Bible for sometimes being vengeful, but then at the same time want to throw Christians in prison for quoting scriptural passages. Well, I mean, is that not vengeful? You know, if you want to throw people in jail for quoting parts of the Bible, are you not being vengeful? I mean, you know, like I say, there's a lot of things that are just kind of wild that are happening here anyway, that aren't great. But anyway, the thing of it is, though, what I'm noticing lately is we're getting now into the area in Canada of compelled speech. We're being told what we're allowed to say and what we're not allowed to say. In some cases, judges have even ordered Christian pastors to say certain things. They told them basically compelled speech. That's a thing now in Canada, the compelled speech. Now, it's cold. Even with the heater on beside me, it's cold. It'd be totally unbearable without the heater, so I'm glad to have it. I'm grateful to have it. Hopefully I can keep putting propane in it all winter. I've gone through most of my money that I had saved already, just like I did last year. I've gone through most of it. I put nearly $1,000 into repairs on the truck, and it still needs more work, but I just can't afford to do at this point. And I had to buy a new cell phone, of course, because the old cell phone died on me. I was hoping not to have to do that until spring, but it didn't work out that way, I guess. That happens. But it created another expense anyway. Yeah, right now, though, we got a government that's getting into the compelled speech, especially with Christians, and so on like that, you know, wanting the Christian people to be forced to say certain things, and so on. Especially clergy members. They really want to go after the clergy. We put clergy members in jail now, Christian clergy. I don't really hear of any imams being jailed. Christians have been jailed, though. Christian pastors have been jailed for speaking against the whole transgender thing and the rainbow movement and all that. And in the meantime, imams speak against it as well. And we actually have an organization in Canada, believe it or not, called Queers for Palestine. That's a thing here. Some of them people might want to go to Palestine. Well, maybe not really, but you know, probably better they don't. Because I don't actually wish upon them what would happen to them if they did go to Palestine. But it's like, find out. Do a little research, you members of Queers for Palestine, and find out what happens to people like yourself in Palestine. You think you're hard done by in Canada. Holy smokes, you know. Just find out what happens over there in the state that you support so much, you know. I mean, yeah, but that's the thing, Queers for Palestine. That's how crazy this country is. You know, that's how stupid things are here. And the thing is, saying that, you know, can get me into a lot of trouble. Can get me banned from the internet when that law passes, which is very close. Could even theoretically get me jailed for life, just as if I killed somebody. If somebody sees this video and is offended and complains, you know, that could happen. It's insanity. It's total insanity. Just to point out the ludicrousness of something like that. That these people have an organization supporting, you know, people who would put them to death. Yeah, you go over there and and let it be known that you're homosexual and see how long you live. It won't be very long. Those people have no tolerance at all for anything like that. They'll get rid of you. And here you are marching on the streets, stuff with your big signs. Queers for Palestine. Yeah. Good luck to you. Anyway, there's the whole scandal with the residential schools too. There's a residential school in British Columbia. This is a school where our native children were sent there, and to be kind of forcibly integrated into white society. There were issues, there was abuse, and no doubt there were deaths as a result of what happened there. It's not to minimize any of that, because that all did happen. However, using ground penetrating radar at the site of a former residential school, they found some anomalies. This happened a couple of years ago, I think, something like that. 2-3 years ago. They found some anomalies. They decided right away, they jumped to the conclusion that it was a mass grave. And they put it out there that it was a mass grave. That these were all children who had been murdered by the Christian people who were running the residential school. They've since excavated some of the site, and now what they believe is that it was a cesspit. That basically it was a kind of a primitive sewage disposal thing. But that has not been widely reported. That's a statement, the absolute statement that it was a mass grave was reported, though. And when that was reported, a bunch of Christian churches got burnt to the ground. And the Prime Minister as much as said, well, too bad. Couldn't have happened to a nicer bunch. That was Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister at the time. Didn't give a flying you-know-what about that. In fact, seemed to be happy about it. And, of course, right now what the government is doing is it's pushing this narrative that's completely anti-Christian. All I can tell you is evil people, people who have demons living within them, those types of people, they be scared of God. We should all have a healthy fear of God anyway, but it's not a healthy fear that these people have. It's an out-and-out terror that they have. They don't love God. They hate God, and they're scared of Him. And the thing is, they're trying to drive Christianity out because they think that by doing that, they'll somehow minimize the power that God has over them, or the authority that God has over them, or the authority that God has over the world. And they're mistaken about that. They're going to stand up before God and be judged in the end, just like we all are, And the fact that they tried to make a mockery of God, God is not mocked, but they try. The fact that that's what they had in their heart to do that, and that they led so many people astray, and all the rest of it, that's going to come back on them in a big way. We're all going to have things that come back on us, but none of us is perfect. But these people, they're going to come in for an awful harsh judgment, I would not want to be standing in their shoes. I'm here and I'm impoverished, and I don't know what the future holds for me. It's not looking all that good right now. It's looking like I'll probably freeze to death or starve to death at some point. All alone. That's what it's looking like at this point. That's a pretty frightening thing. But that's what I'm facing right now. And the bottom line is, though, They've got money, they've got comfort, they live in heated houses, they travel around in nice cars and everything. They eat well, they get the best of everything. They get the best medical care, they get the best of everything money can buy, the best food, everything. I wouldn't trade places with one of them. I really wouldn't. Because I'm terrified of being in their shoes come Judgment Day. It terrifies me. The idea that I could be standing in one of their places there. I wouldn't trade places with them for the world. There's just nothing this world can offer me, even the continuation of my own life for a little longer, that could make me want to trade places with those people. People like Mark Carney and Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland. And there's just a whole bunch of them. That dink there that was the head of the NDP party that teamed up with Justin Trudeau, made up a coalition government there, Singh or whatever. I honestly couldn't, I wouldn't trade places with any of them. I would not want to be standing in their shoes. In a way, I feel sorry for them. And it's funny, I would say that, as much as I dislike them, as much as I distrust them, as much disdain as I have for those people, there's a part of me that feels sorry for them because they're terribly deceived and they're living in a delusional state, and reality is going to come and hit those sons of bitches right between the eyes like a 2x4. It's like getting smacked by a 2x4 right between your eyes. That's what's going to happen. And what are they going to do then? What a terrible and fearful day that will be. It'll be a glorious day, but it'll be a terrible and fearful day too. I have enough to do to keep myself on the right side of things, and I fail continuously. I sure as hell would not want to be standing in those people's shoes with the damage that they've done, and with the way they've mocked God, and with the way they've tried to exclude God and His people from everything, and punish God's people and persecute God's people, and they're still at it. They're not finished. No, we got to do even worse. We're not finished with you, you Jesus followers. We're not finished with you. That's what it is. But what they don't realize is every nail they knock into our coffin is a nail they're knocking into their own coffin. By hurting us, they hurt themselves. They don't understand that, though. And the result for them is going to be bad. It's not going to be pretty for me, I'll tell you that. And there's a lot of us it's not going to be pretty for. And I'm not looking forward to that at all. I have a hard enough time getting by without having to deal with all the crap that's going to come my way soon. But I'll tell you, I still wouldn't trade places with them. They can have their luxury homes and their heated, limousines and their money, their fine dining and all the rest of it. They can have all of it. It's all trash in the end anyway. God says I have reserved all of that stuff for fire. So, there you go. Enjoy it while you can, boys, because it's going away. And, yeah, that's what they've traded their souls for. It's quite a thing when you think about it, eh? Trade your soul for a few shekels. It's like, it's like what, Judas. Judas, the apostle Judas, traded his soul for 30 pieces of silver. when he realized what he did, he went out and hung himself. Threw the silver away and went and took a rope and hung himself. Who'd trade places with him? He had 30 pieces of silver. He should have been a happy man. But he wasn't. Silver didn't mean a damn thing to him at that point when he realized what he'd done, you know. And that's it. So like I say, who'd trade places with him? I'll bet you even if you were a pauper in that day and age, begging on the street, you wouldn't trade places with Judas if you knew about him and you knew what had happened. He had 30 pieces of silver, but what good did it do him? You see, that's what our government has done. That's what all these people and the higher-ups have done. They've sold their souls for 30 pieces of silver. And it'll do them absolutely no good in the end. Yeah, as for me, I'm just a poor sinner. I know that. I've got all kinds of faults, all kinds of weaknesses and shortcomings. And I'm not deserving of anything good. I'm certainly not deserving of heaven. I'm no more deserving of heaven than Mark Carney is. The difference is I at least know there is a heaven. And I at least know that even though I'm not deserving of it, I can still go there for the grace of the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, his blood on the cross. And I know that, Jesus is the real deal. And I don't have any interest in suppressing him or suppressing those who believe in him. Well, why would I do that? Why would I want to suppress the real deal for a counterfeit? You know? I wouldn't, and I don't. And so, as smart as these people are, they're not very bright. That's all. They're too smart for their own good, maybe. That might be what it is. They're blinded by their own intelligence or lack thereof. Anyway, that's it. I have to go back outside and check on things. You got to keep an eye on things. You can't be running propane stuff and not keeping an eye on things. You can go away from it for a little while. There's Rocky. You can go away from it for a little while, but not for long, because there's just too many things that can go wrong. So you always have to check and make sure everything is good and be prepared to deal with the situation if it isn't. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay, guys. We'll see you later.